You're a former press secretary, and I want your reaction to this breaking news that Donald Trump is apparently suffering from a sort of a chronic vein condition. It's not terribly serious, but it has been announced, and he's had a comprehensive exam. I'd just love your thoughts on how the White House, this White House, the Trump White House, has handled this bit of medical news, contrasted with the way the previous Biden White House handled news around the president's condition when the president was Joe Biden.
Great points on both fronts. So number one, let's get to the medical thing. And just trust me, you should never take my financial advice or my medical advice. But that being said, the research that I did today, 1 in 20 Americans have the same condition that President Trump has. So it is a normal condition. It happens as you, particularly as you get older, and it's obviously being treated. And there are ways to alleviate it, compression socks and whatever. Again, don't look at me for any kind of healthcare or medical advice, but a simple Google search told me that. But to your second question, James, think about the contrast in this. People were speculating rampantly on the internet yesterday about a bruise on his hand, and he was wearing compression socks, and oh my gosh, what happens? What does Karoline Leavitt do at this briefing? She walks through exactly what the situation is, what the doctor said, what the treatment will be going forward. This is the kind of thing that makes the Trump administration so different. And frankly, there's the through line with Epstein. The same kind of transparency that we're seeing and we're contrasting with Biden, we need to do throughout all of government. Today, the Trump administration did the right thing. And as someone who, a week ago, 10 days ago, testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee on how the media handled Joe Biden's decline, this was the right thing to do, the right way to handle it. And I applaud how the White House did it because it ended all the speculation. Everyone like me could go on the internet and go, oh, yeah, that makes total sense. And so I think kudos to them for how they handled it. And it continues to show the massive contrast that existed between not only how they did handle it in the Biden administration, but let's face facts. Biden officials are still taking the Fifth Amendment here in the United States, James. Now, remember, for those people in Australia that don't fully appreciate it, our Fifth Amendment in our Constitution gives you the right against self-incrimination.
Sean, I'm glad.
So when you see these people doing it, James, you got to say, what did you do that was so bad that you can't comment on it?
Well, exactly right. I'm glad you brought that up because here is some footage of Jill Biden aide Anthony Bernal taking the fifth here. Last week it was the president's doctor. This week it's Jill Biden's former aide. Have a look at this.
Mr. Bernal, did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, was President Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
And Sean, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I had to play that grab because it's fascinating to me. Whether or not he was told that the president was not in any fit state to be president or carry out his duties, that's not a crime. And yet he's still taking the fifth on it. This tells me this is a huge, stinking cover-up here.
100%. And listen, two things. First, you mentioned Dr. Sean O'Connor, the first person that took the fifth. In America, and at least I don't know about the rest of the world, we have doctor-patient confidentiality. I would have bought that. You would have bought that, James, I think, if the doctor said, hey, I am legally, ethically bound that I can't reveal certain things that I talked about with my patient who just happens to be the president of the United States. Okay, I would have bought that. But he took the Fifth Amendment. What crime did he commit with this gentleman that you just played, who, by the way, is referred to as Jill Biden's work husband? What did he do? Because they further in the clip that you just played, they ask him, are you taking the fifth because you're trying to not incriminate yourself from a crime, which again is the basis of the Fifth Amendment to our Constitution. So he's asked a simple question. Was he fit for duty? Now, James, I can answer that question for him. As a Biden staffer, I would have said, first of all, I do not have the medical background to answer that question, but everything I saw led me to believe that he was fully capable. That's an easy answer. Anybody could have said that. It's a judgment call. That's not a lie. That's a judgment call. So you can't go to court for your judgment. It may be bad, it may be stupid, but that's not a legal problem. And so the question is, what did they really know? Now, here's the thing, James. They've also called Neera Tanden and other Biden senior officials to testify. Is this a one-off pattern that we've now seen two people in a row take, or is it going to continue? Because if it continues, it's not a pattern. it's a full-blown cover-up.
Absolutely right. Sean Spicer, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, James. Always appreciate it.